Okay. All right. Tonight is night 6 of Hanukkah around the world. As I tell you every night, I'm Carol Weinshell, Vice President of Program and Membership at Rodeph Sholom. And even though you all know me, it's important for the archives, if we ever want to go back and look at this, to see what it is we're doing. We have been to Germany. We've been to North Africa, Morocco, Costa Rica, Colombia. Tonight is night 6. Jackie Gerlich is taking us to India. Tomorrow night, there is no Around the World. We will be in person at 2385 Park Avenue, Bridgeport, Connecticut. That's about as round the world as we get. And the last
Is that in case anyone's forgotten, Carol?
Yes. And the last night we're going to Maui, so, where the fires were. That's exactly where we'll be. So, Jackie, without further ado, do you want me to start sharing the screen?
Not yet. I'll tell you when.
Perfect.
Okay.
You give me your orders.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me? Before I start, Debbie, I'd like you to check with Lanny to see if he happens to know a little Hanukkah song in Hindi. If he could prepare that for us. It's so nice when he sings a song after. So I thought maybe he's got a little Hindi one.
Okay, he's
No, I'm
right
kidding,
there.
I'm kidding.
I'll
Get on it.
tell him.
I'm kidding.
He hears you.
Any Indian language will do.
I owe him.
All right, it doesn't have to be Hindi.
I owe him so big. Now you're stretching out my owing.
Well, that one would be on me, Carol, don't worry.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay.
Okay. Jews, will start at the beginning. Jews came to India to escape persecution. They were one of the first foreign religious groups to arrive, and they started coming about 2,500 years ago. They merged into Indian culture, and they developed their own traditions, some like ours, some very different. And we'll talk about some of them, and you can see where there are differences and similarities. Now, Carol, I'd like you to share the screen, if you could, please, with the first picture.
Hold on, it's coming. Where is it?
We see
Okay.
it, Carol.
There.
We've got it.
Okay. Okay.
I don't.
Jackie.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is the map of showing a lot of the Jewish population of India, which has changed over the years. But when the Jews came about 2,500 years ago, many of them were merchants. So they needed to live by the water. So there was a very big settlement in Bombay, which is now called Mumbai, right? On the Arabian Sea, and another, oh, not yet.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I tried to show where you were and I clicked. Okay.
And another very big settlement in Calcutta in West Bengal, on the Bay of Bengal. Those two areas had a lot of Jewish settlers. Okay, next slide. This is the interior of the Magen David Synagogue in Calcutta. It was founded in 1884. This one happened to be a very large and ornate synagogue. Some of them are much smaller and not so fancy, all depending on the area and the prosperity of the Jews in that area. Okay, the next slide, please. This is a Torah ark. It's carved and painted wood, and they use a lot of red and a lot of gold. You'll see. I guess it shows prosperity for them. So they love red and they use gold. And you can see there's one part of it open. You can kind of see the Torahs inside. Okay, next slide. Now these slide and the next slide show some of the Hanukahs that they use. The Indian Hanukahs always have some kind of a backing, unlike ours. And the reason is they need hooks. Theirs are hung on the wall, usually by the entranceway. And they have a hook. They have a shelf, and there's a shamus on the top, and they have the they don't light candles. They have 8 glass cups, and they actually light oil. They come in different shapes. Here's the Star of David. There are some that are triangular. You'll see on the next page, in different shapes, different forms. They use hearts, birds, flowers. Okay, and here's the other sample of them. And in India, when a boy becomes bar mitzvah, he's presented with his own Hanukah. And interestingly, there traditionally, it's the men and the boys who light the oil, not the women. The first one is the man of the house. He lights his Hanukah first, and then each boy over the age of 13 lights their Hanukahs. They're left up all year, but they're only really used on Hanukah. Now, in more modern times, some people don't have sons, some families don't have a male head of household, so women and girls are lighting them now. Okay, next slide. This is a bride and groom in traditional wedding apparel. You notice how...
I can't move it out of the way, so. Okay.
Oh, mine is okay.
Oh, all right. Okay.
You'll notice they're all wearing white for purity and lots of gold. Even the groom's yarmulke is gold. They don't dress like this ordinarily. Most of the men really wear Western type clothes, and a lot of women wear Western type clothes, but many of them still wear their Indian outfits, and they wear saris of different colors, and they have a lot of gold in all of them. Okay, next slide, please. And this is a sample of an Indian ketubah. Similar to ours, there's a lot of Hebrew writing, and around the edges are pictures. There's birds, flowers, and a lot of red. And I'll say that when they get married, eventually they have a family, and when they start having babies, boys do have a bris and girls do have a baby naming. Okay, Carol, you can remove the slides now.
Okay, just for legality's sake,
Okay.
at the end of Jackie's presentation, because she used a book, we're crediting the book that she used.
Okay.
Okay, Jackie, it's all you.
Okay. Jewish Indian families have company for dinner on Hanukkah. It's a big meal for them. They light the Hanukah, they sing, they dance, and while the oil is burning, they tend not to do any work. And they eat a lot of rice, and they eat a lot of fish and chicken, not too much beef. Some of them eat no meat at all, but most of them will eat fish and chicken. A lot of them live near the water where the fish is plentiful. They use a lot of coconut milk and coconut oil. And one reason is the traditional Jews, the observant Jews, they keep kashrut, and they don't mix milk with meat. They use coconut milk because it's parv. They use a lot of turmeric, which is a bright yellow spice. So the holiday meal, the big meal, might consist of something like coconut fish or chicken curry. They eat malpuas, which are fritters. Ordinarily, they would eat apple or banana malpuas, but on Hanukkah, because it's festive, they do something different, and they make pineapple malpuas. They eat sweet halwa, which is semolina flour, coconut milk, and sugar. And they do drink wine. And they're very resourceful. For many, many years, India had prohibition. They couldn't get wine. So they made their own. They took dried raisins, which were originally grapes. They boiled them. They let them sit in the boiling water till they got very plump. Then they took them out and they squeezed them, and the juice that came out of them became their wine. Now they can get wine, so it's not an issue. In 1948, India had about 30,000 Jews. Today, they have about between 4,500 and 5,000. They lost a lot. Many moved to Israel. In Israel, there are about 80,000 Jews of Indian origins. And the older leaders work hard to make them keep a lot of their traditions to be passed on to future generations. The Israeli towns of Dimona and Ashdod have been dubbed by many as Little India. It's fairly common that in these towns you could hear Hindi or Marathi or one of the other Indian languages being spoken. In the United States, there were only a few hundred Indian Jews. An Indian artist named Siona Benjamin received 2 Fulbright scholarships. The first one was in the 1980s. She came to the United States. She mingled with American Indian Jews to see how they lived, how they assimilated, their culture they developed. And later on, fairly recently, she received another Fulbright scholarship, and she went to Israel this time and did the same thing. She documented the communities in Israel, how they lived, and what traditions they kept, and how they intermingled with the new cultures. And the conclusions from her studies in Israel and the United States was that Jews of Indian descent in other countries, they intermingled with the new culture, but they also kept some of their own traditions. And they stayed together. They tried to build synagogues in the style of the synagogues they had. They have Hanukahs with the back wall, and they light oil. So they try to maintain some Jewish traditions, even though they're in a new place. So that's basically what I have to say. I don't know if there are any questions or any comments. I will be happy to try to answer, but I've never been there and I'm not an expert. So I'm hoping you know less than I do.
Do we have any questions for Jackie? This was fabulous.
Thank you.
You're just taking us out of our comfort zone into some place that I don't know if anybody has been or not, but there's certainly a lot to learn. Lisa,
I thought I've been to India, but only to Delhi and that triangle where we went down to Taj Mahal in that area. And we actually ended up going to a synagogue. I think I talked about it on one of your Hanukah Around the World. I just felt like I was at home in India, meaning that it seemed like it was a small synagogue, seemed to be somewhat struggling with its membership, but it was a fairly strong membership with a quirky little rabbi. But anyway, I just noticed, Jackie, that I thought the bride and groom, their clothing was beautiful. But I noticed the groom was barefoot. So I just wonder, I mean, it's odd in a formal photograph that he would be barefoot. So I wonder if that, is like in Asian circles, they take off their shoes, before they enter the house.
It's a great question, Lisa, and I'm sorry I don't have an answer. And I'll tell you the truth, between you and me and everybody else, I didn't even realize he was barefoot.
I saw that too, but I figured it must have been part of the tradition.
I was looking for the yarmulke and stuff like that.
Well, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I hope they don't have to step on the glass.
Very good, David, very
David.
good.
Only you would come up with that. You are
Rabbi
so
like that
quick.
one.
David,
I
that
was
was very,
surprised.
David, that was very sharp of you.
Yeah.
I was surprised because
Whoa.
I know traditional Indian wedding garb is red. The bride wears red, but it looks like
fact-
maybe not true with Jewish people. I don't know.
Well,
in
I don't
fact,
know.
Go ahead,
No,
Jack.
but my daughter has a friend who is of Indian descent, and she's not Jewish, but many years ago, she had told me they wear a lot of red. I think red is their sign of luck. So they like to wear red on occasions.
So, yeah, basically the white is typically worn at the funerals. So red is considered to be preferred. Although about 5 years ago, we went to a mixed marriage. The groom was Jewish and the young woman was Indian. And she wore white, which really surprised us. And barefoot, and a lot of their customs, they paint henna,
Henna.
henna.
They paint
And
henna.
it's like 3-4 days situation. So
Right.
the feet are also exposed. The other thing I noticed is that, well, beef is obviously cows are saint, on the street. So you mentioned they don't really eat beef there, or at least on the holidays. But the Magen David synagogue had a second floor, which means the women sat separately. That means they're
Right.
more Orthodox than that. The one
Yes.
with red was absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank
The
you very
what?
much.
This is
You're
now the
welcome.
second time that we've had comments about Hanukah being hung on a wall by the door.
Israel.
And okay, so I want to, if anyone has any more information, all I could think of when I heard it the first time is I would be terrified of fire. I
That was
so
last night.
careful.
Laura was saying
Well-
that last night about Morocco.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll
They
tell
put
you,
them in cages also.
Yeah,
Like,
or in
uh,
little
that-
shells built into their homes. In the old city of Jerusalem, they have little
It's windy. It's
alcoves
windy.
built in.
Huh.
I thought of that because most of the Indian Jews, the Hanukah is brass and it's made by non-Jewish artisans. However, many of them have wood ones. Now, to me, that sounded very unsafe.
That's
And
even
then
more
they light
dangerous.
the
yeah.
oil.
wood
but,
and oil, hot oil.
Yeah,
yeah,
on
So-
fire.
I don't know. It's their tradition, not ours.
No, it just struck me the first time I heard it as, oh my gosh. And now, so I wonder where that tradition is coming from. It's now, clearly two very different communities.
I felt the same way, Marcia. I thought that was maybe a fire hazard, but I didn't want to bring it up.
No, but
Didn't
I
wanna wish it
also,
on anybody. Let's put it that way.
no, but I also just wonder, what the source of that tradition is.
I think for Morocco, what it
North
was
Africa.
on one side of the door, you have the mezuzah, and on the other side, you hang the Hanukah, and it was supposed to be like you have double protection.
Did you notice that Nima sent us pictures from
I was
Israel?
going to say that, right? If anybody happens to be on Facebook, the Hanukah her mother has, they have it in a glass container, is very typical of what these look like.
As far as hanging the Hanukah on the wall, keep in mind that like 1,000 years ago, their houses weren't wood.
Right. That's
Mhm.
true.
They were made out of rock,
That's true.
or
Right.
plaster or
true.
whatever. So
That's
Yeah.
true.
Good
the
point,
thing
Jim.
of fire was not that big of a deal.
Good
The only
point.
thing is they're
Good
still
point.
They had
following
it
the
oil.
tradition today. So,
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
we
know.
all, have
Mm,
the same traditions,
right.
I would
If
say
they're
for all of us, do
I mean,
not try
originally,
this
I
at
guess the
home.
Jews also lit oil because
Yeah.
they didn't have candle, that's what they used. So we changed that one. So
Right.
Thank you. Sharon, what did you say?
I said, do not try this at home.
Oh, yes.
I just
For
wanted to
sure.
mention, I went to rabbinical school with a guy named Isaac Mordechai. And Isaac, who is now Rabbi Isaac Mordechai, grew up in Australia, but his mother was from the Sassoon family. And of course, everybody is familiar with the Sassoon family because of Vidal Sassoon, who was British. But the Sassoon family originated, I believe, in Baghdad. And then a good part of the family emigrated to Mumbai, to Bombay, where Isaac's family was from Bombay, and then they emigrated to Australia. And he was a Sephardic Jew who was, I have to say, he was very proud of his Indian roots, and he was really a class act. He really was just an extremely classy person. Real, and he is real mensch. I was in touch with him by email a few years ago. Haven't heard from him since, and I'm not sure where he's living right now.
I hear a program coming.
You know, this is that you remind me, Rabbi, when I was reading, I think it was very telling that a lot of the Indian philanthropy in India from years ago, they built libraries. They took money and they built libraries for the town and made sure they were stocked with books. So there are a lot of very intelligent people. And what they prioritize was similar to maybe what American Jews would prioritize.
They also had Bollywood people there, you know, the Indian Hollywood.
Yeah, the cinema.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jewish.
Okay.
I
So,
just, can I ask, again, we have friends who were Orthodox from India, and we went to their wedding. It was very interesting. The henna, everybody got the henna and everything, but they didn't talk about persecution. And I'm wondering why the Indian Jews left. You said there's so few now. Does anybody know why they left if they weren't being persecuted?
Well, I did wonder the same thing. I wasn't able to get an answer, but the only thing I will say is many originally after 1948 went to Israel. They did so well there that I think they encouraged their family and friends back in India to come join them. Especially in the 1960s, there was a tremendous migration to Israel from India. So maybe they just followed the family and friends. I don't know.
Maybe it's possible that like all the Jewish parents want better future for their children, and they always they felt that maybe in Israel there was more opportunities or whatever the case might be.
Yeah,
But
again,
also,
I'm sorry, go
maybe.
ahead.
go ahead, Rabbi.
it's just wild guess, but it could be once India left, stopped being a British colony in 1948. And as you recall, India split into two countries, India and Pakistan, half of which was Islamic, the Islamic Republic of, it wasn't called the Islamic Republic, but Pakistan was largely Islamic, right? And it may be that some of the Jews of India felt nervous about remaining in the region, not knowing what the future would bring.
It was also a great deal.
Do
I
you
think
find
There
that
was a lot of
Great deal.
there's a lot of violence.
There's a lot
There
of
was a lot of interreligious violence between Muslims and Hindus, Sikhs, whatever. Yeah.
do you find that the modern Jewish Indian population is friendly to Jews in America or pro-Israel?
I have to
It's
look
a
at
very good question.
I know. I thought I saw something somewhere not too long ago that the Indian government was fairly favorable towards Israel in the latest in the war, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know if they were one of the nations that condemned Israel. Maybe not. I have to look it up.
I don't know, but in the earlier years, the Jews were treated very well, just like everybody else, and there was not persecution, which is why many of them kept coming to India.
So I want to try to wrap this up, but I've been thinking as we've been doing this that it started out as Hanukkah around the world, and it sort of mushroomed, and we've learned a lot more than just Hanukkah, not to minimize Hanukkah, but I think without anybody realizing it, we've all come away a little smarter. And I think that the way we're going to end tonight is on a very high note with our resident singer and pianist, and we'll see what he has on the docket for us now. Debbie, is he ready? Take it away, Lanny.
Drum roll for Lanny.
Little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play. It has a lovely body, of legs so short and thin, and when it gets all tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play. I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play.
Okay.
Okay, then. Rabbi, you're muted if you're trying to tell us something.
He's translating from Hindu
with-
now.
With permission of the chair,
Yes, sir.
can I extend just 1 minute?
Sure.
Okay. This is to address Lana's question earlier. I looked it up. In Time magazine online, I'm just quoting a very short paragraph. When Hamas launched its unprecedented attack against Israel on October 7th, killing 1,200 people, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, like most world leaders, condemned Hamas's horrific actions and expressed, quote, solidarity with Israel at this difficult hour. But the Modi government's approach in the days and weeks that followed have set it apart from many non-Western peers. That divergence notably includes India abstaining from a UN resolution on October 27th that called for a humanitarian truce. 120 countries voted in favor. And this has been a surprise, according to the article, to many observers, as they've seen Prime Minister Modi form a strong alliance with Israel over the past few years since he came into office.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
sharing and clarifying. So I think we'll call night 6 a success, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right, 5. I can't count. And tomorrow night, we're in person. Try to come. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have latkes and cookies and a special treat. I'm not telling you what it is, and music and dancing, and Coda will be there. So come along, a little camaraderie in person. And then on Thursday, I don't believe you'll need a passport to go with me to Hawaii. So you can put your passports away. So thank you all for coming and supporting this program. It's
Thanks,
very
Carol.
exciting.
Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you
It's
very much,
wonderful.
everybody. And
Thanks,
happy
Carol.
Ella
Thanksgiving.
Pat says
Jackie.
goodbye.
Great
to Marcia
job.
Very good,
Joe.
Jackie.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Nice
you.
job,
Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Happy